Welcome to A Night With, the show where we invite members of the TF2 community to discuss the game and the people who play it. Tonight we're on with Dreysidel, a TF2 YouTuber who specializes in using the Scottish Resistance. Dreysidel, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the third episode, which has taken forever to come out, and I apologize greatly. Been through it a little bit, but now we're back and we are good to go. So for Dreysidel, for people who haven't heard of you or don't know about your channel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm basically the local Scottish Resistance main. If you've played in like pubs in North America, maybe you've ran into me. I don't know. All my aliases are like Bionicle references, so I doubt anyone knows who I am through that. Yeah, I do Scottish Resistance stuff in TF2, mostly pubs. There was that time when I was in competitive. Sometimes man versus machine, but rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, local SR main. That's TLDR.
Honestly, that's sick as hell. I am usually shunned by it from my friends because I love using the Scottish Resistance and I cannot stand the other two for some weird reason. I don't know what clicks, but the SR just feels so good to use.
It's a fancy weapon, all right.
Yeah, when you've got 4 traps out at a time, feels super good to hit those. So briefly about like channel history and stuff like that. What initially made you want to start up a channel?
I was bored one day and I was browsing through YouTube, and prior to my channel, for the longest of time, it felt like a lot of the big TF2 YouTubers, like I guess if you remember a guy by the name of Muselk.
Oh yeah.
And like all those guys, it felt like there was no one really talking about the Scottish Resistance. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is the niche I gotta fill, since nobody else is up to it. So, similar to Thanos in that one post-credit scene, I took out my SR and said, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
That's perfect. You're right. When I was trying to pick up their Scottish Resistance, I was like, I don't know how to use this thing. I need to look it up and I need to see how people use it, all this stuff. And there were no big YouTubers that were like, yeah, this is how you use it. This is what you want to do. Your channel is like focused so well on not only the Scottish Resistance is good, but here's how to make it good. Here's how to utilize it well. And it feels, your content is just unlike anything that anyone else has. So you did a very good job filling up that niche, in my opinion.
I should make an amendment that Star did do at least 1 or 2 videos about the Scottish Resistance. I just remembered that, but other than that, it was nobody.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly nobody, but you get the point.
Yeah.
No major TF-tubers.
And for sure, nobody said, I am going to use the Scottish Resistance. That is the weapon. Right? It was that you're the only one still to this day, I think, that's like that.
Currently uploading on YouTube, probably.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's super cool. There's not even many channels that are like, I used this weapon and that is what my channel is about. Just off the top of my head, I think like
Solar Light?
Pyro. Solar Light's pretty close. But even then, that's like a subclass. It's not like this is the weapon. This is me. And so I think it's super cool that you managed to do that and do it successfully too. You've got, what was it, 10 years under your belt now? Like just recently celebrating 10 years?
September 9th was the official day that I can technically say it was 10 years.
How do you stay sane? How do you stay sane using the Scottish Resistance for 10 years straight?
I don't know. I kind of just rolled with it as time went on. I don't know if at some point you're going to ask me about like how the early days went for me, but eventually I just reached a point where like, whatever, I'm just going to ride with this till the end. Oh
yeah, actually the great segue. That was our next question. What made you like want to start up at the very beginning, like in TF2 specifically?
Oh, that's okay. The story behind how I got into this mess in the first place starts back in a time when I was still in elementary school and my friends were like getting into like online gaming and
Hmm.
like before you know what happened, we used to be able to have sleepovers and go to people's houses. And one night, one of my friends who had a Steam account at the time introduced me to Gary's mod,
Oh.
which I proceeded to just constantly light on fire Mr. Breen or Wallace Breen models. I had issues when I was younger, I'll admit it. And that kind of got me hooked on Steam and like getting interested in like the gaming side, like online gaming. So I
Hmm.
eventually, my friends introduced me to Team Fortress 2, and then I decided, you know what, I probably should just get my own Steam account and download the game because it was free to play at the time.
Hmm.
I downloaded it, ready to hit play, and it won't run because my Windows XP laptop sucks. So I had to start saving up money from like my first job to get a better computer.
Oh my.
So jump a couple. Well, is it like my first? It was like a paper route. It paid. It gave me cash. So a couple months later, I was able to get a functioning computer for TF2, and then in that time though I was like researching about the game to kind of get an idea of what I'm about to throw myself into.
Hmm.
And I guess to start, when I was deciding which class I wanted to main, it kind of came down to Demoman or Sniper. And
Really?
Sniper
Wow.
because I thought the whole idea of being a sniper man was cool, and Demoman, my kind of reasoning for picking Demoman has nothing to do with the class, but has to do with the fact that oh god, okay. I don't know if you follow Lego related stuff, but there was this old line called Alpha Team that had a character named Crunch who was a demolitions expert, and he was my favorite character. So I'm like,
Uh,
I want to be like Agent Crunch. I want to be the demolitions expert.
I don't follow Lego stuff, unfortunately, but that's as good a reason as any, honestly. And I gotta
Nothing
say,
gameplay related. It was purely for that reason. But then when I actually started playing TF2, I realized I was terrible at Sniper, so I just went to Demo Man.
uh, it's so interesting that those are the last two that it comes down to, because like, do you really can you get any different in classes like snipers? I'm gonna be as far. Well, I guess you could do sniper and scout maybe, but those are two completely different game styles.
Actually, my third was gonna be Engineer, but I already had a friend who was like an NG main. I'm like, I don't want to copy
Mm,
them. I want to be something different.
yes, I feel that with one of my friends who main soldier, and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to infringe on this right that he has to play soldier and only soldier, and I can't. But so you're a demo man, clearly. That's like
Yep.
that's your bread and butter. How much how much time have you spent on Demo Man?
Hard to say because my hours got randomly reset. Let me
Mm,
quickly. I can probably just look this up real quick if my
yeah, go for it.
TF2 achievements will load up fast.
Knowing Steam, of course they won't.
Well, okay. Says I have about just over 2,000 hours on demo, but that's after my stats got randomly reset, so
Good lord,
maybe multiply that by 2?
around 4,000 hours.
Yeah, that's about a safe approximate number, I'd guess.
Good God, that is insane. That's so cool. I I think that in Demo Man I have maybe like I have like 200 in Soldier, and Demo Man is like my third most, I think. So maybe something around like uh 150 maybe. So that number is ridiculously cool. So then which other how do your other classes stack up next to it?
My second was played as Soldier at 200 hours.
Wow.
And my third is
Wow.
Medic, fourth Scout. My last is Heavy. It's not even over 24 hours yet for Heavy.
I think mine's like
Heavy feels too
16.
boring for me. It's just a minigun,
Dude,
go spray and pray.
I do not get it. I don't understand how so many people play heavy and enjoy it. It's crazy to me.
Well, people wonder how am I finding interest in the SR so often. So,
That's
you know,
true.
different people, different preferences. I don't really think too much about it.
I guess so. But the Scottish Resistance is so like obviously it has its niche that it's like super good in. That's like super like the defense, where you're able to just sit and watch your things. But also like you can do other stuff with it. The minigun, it's like you point and click. That's pretty much all you can do, and you have to hold it on them. Um, the next question I had queued up. If demo did not exist, which class would you play?
Probably wouldn't have gone to sniper because I realized early on, wow, I really can't hit headshots. Maybe soldier because it's my second most played class. Maybe medic because I don't mind just healing the team.
It's kind of a
Probably
nice
soldier
break.
or medic.
Soldier medic. Yeah, that makes sense. Medic. I personally don't like playing medic, but that's because my favorite pastime is walking into sightlines. And
Oh, I do that too. I just have the mindset of, all right, other sniper, prove you're so good. Hit my head.
exactly. You challenge, and then of course you get the sniper that's way better than you, and then you're like, oh, well,
I'm like, well, at least they're hitting their shots, so they really are good.
at least I'm getting beat by someone who's good. Yeah, no kidding. So then, when in the whole gist of TF2, if you had to take a map, not one that's like, in the general rotation, any map, which one would you say is your favorite, and which one would you say is your least favorite?
Oh, okay. Least favorite Harvest because I just have the worst luck on that map every time I play it. Like things just always go wrong for me.
Huh?
Um, best or like favorite map? That's a good question.
Thank you.
Maybe Badwater or Upward. That's actually. I don't really put much thought into favorite map.
To the maps themselves,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I'd just say Harvest is probably my least favorite because I just have bad luck there. In terms of favorite, maybe just I'll default to just Badwater.
Okay. Badwater is a really good map. Does it work well with the Scottish Resistance in general?
I'd say most maps in general though. It's fine for the SR, so I wouldn't say it's maybe anything that specific to that map. Maybe just because I've played it a lot. Um, yeah, I'll just. There isn't really any like deep explanation here.
Okay.
I
Do
got.
you have a Sorry, excuse me. I'm good. Okay. So, do you have a preferred game mode that you like to queue up for specifically, or do you usually just like queue up for all of them?
I used to specifically just do like anything that has attack and defense, and I do have a habit of like when I have the chance to just to switch always to the defensive side just to keep things simpler on me. But at the same time, I also just I'm trying to be fine with whatever. But if I had a
Yeah.
preference, probably just defensive mode on like payload or attack defense maps, since that's probably where things are going to be the easiest for me and where I don't have to put as much thinking into what I do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so now the I think that this is probably the biggest question that people are going to have in general. You've probably been asked this a bunch. Why the Scottish Resistance?
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to that part of my backstory. That's true.
Please.
Okay, so when I was like researching about TF2 and I was looking to Demoman and Sniper stuff, looking through the secondary unlocks, I see the Scottish Resistance. It's got all those like positive stats. I'm like, oh boy, the weapon's got a laser sight. I want to use that. I don't know why. I just thought, hey, that thing has like a laser sight, and I like the caution like yellow line thing it has on like the ammo barrel thing. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly. I just thought the model looked cool. I'm not really paying attention to the stats, so If anyone thought it was anything gameplay specific at first, no, it was purely visual. And then
Really?
after that,
What?
listen, I was like interested at first because of the design, and then I stayed for the gameplay.
You That's fair though. Like it does look sick, especially next to the sticky bomb launcher and the quickie bomb launcher, right?
Got the laser sight.
Yeah, and it doesn't even do anything in the game, but
I'd like to believe like it's like the thing that's detecting which bombs you're deading. That's
oh,
that's like my headcanon for it.
that totally makes sense. Yeah, yeah, because it's not doing anything else. A laser sight wouldn't even work on a something that's launching stickies, right?
It looked cool.
Wow,
And
I'm
then after that, as I started learning more about it, I'm like, this actually seems kind of interesting, being able to selectively detonate stuff. Let's see where I can go with this.
yeah. Did you that like those strategies and stuff? Did you watch any like YouTube videos or did you watch people play to learn how to use the Scottish Resistance, or are you pretty much self-taught?
So at the start, I didn't even fully understand what the arm time meant, because for the longest time before I had the SR, because I had to wait to get Demoman achievement milestone number 3, I thought it's after you right-click, it takes an extra 0.8 seconds for the bomb to go off for some reason. So when I started using it, I realized, oh wait, I have to wait for it 0.8 seconds before I can actually like dead it. So that threw me off a bit. It was a bit of trial and error, and then I ran into a YouTube channel when I searched into YouTube like Scottish Resistance TF2, which brings me to the YouTube channel named Manta Firefly, which I don't think they're active anymore with TF2 stuff, but the first thing that pops up is Manta's Scottish Resistance Guide, Main Principles, a 6-minute video released in 2010 that pretty much gave me the baseline of, okay, how should I approach this? And honestly, given how the SR has not really had any significant changes, it's still a pretty relevant video in my opinion. And it's a lot of what helped me derive the stuff I do today. So shout out to Manta Firefly.
Okay, yeah. I actually don't think I've ever heard of this channel, so I'm absolutely gonna have to give it a look.
I think they only have like 4 videos on like the Scottish Resistance, from what I recall. I don't think they upload that much anymore, which is unfortunate because I think they're also a really talented SR demo, and shout outs to them.
Hell yeah, that's super sick. I'm like I said, I'm gonna have to check this out. Those gems, it sucks so much that so many of those are just like lost. YouTube is not nice to channels that don't post anymore, even if it's really good content. Like even when you search like the Scottish Resistance or like Resistance Guide, they don't show up as easily as the ones that are like putting them out every single day.
Yeah, I remember back in the day in 2012, that video would pop up near the top, so that's how I was able to learn. But I guess maybe I haven't really been searching up Scottish Resistance on YouTube as of late, so I don't know if it still appears at the top or if some of my stuff now starts to appear at the top.
For me personally, you were the first one to show up, and that's why I ended up watching you. That was a while ago. I've been watching you for what, like a year and a half, maybe. A pretty long time. And I even comment on videos because I'm like, get these friggin' like the algorithm needs to be nicer. It's hell for smaller YouTubers unless you get blessed by the algorithm one time, and then things are pretty good from there on.
Yeah, I try not think about like algorithm stuff too much. I'll just make the content, upload it, and just hope for the best.
Good.
It's kind of out of my control at that point.
I think that's very important to keep in mind, especially nowadays. If you're enjoying the content that you're putting out, then that should be enough.
I think there was like a time before where I think I put too much pressure on myself for that, and that almost burned myself out doing that. So I've just decided to change my mindset to just it's out of your control. Just do your best, upload it, see what happens, move on to the next thing, and so on.
I wish that I shared that sentiment. Unfortunately, I'm stuck wanting to be a YouTube famous guy. So We'll see how that works. We will get into your YouTube history in a bit, but to keep on going along the lines of your game plan, your gameplay, your strategies, which primary weapon and which melee weapon do you feel synergize the best with what you're trying to do?
Okay, for primary weapon, probably stock a grenade launcher or the iron bomber. Either or are fine. In terms of the melee, probably just like any stock reskin or just the stock bottle.
Okay.
I know there was a period of time where, for fun, I just equipped the Claymore, even though it has zero synergy, but I thought it would be an absolute power move if I just pulled it out randomly in the middle of a fight and killed someone with it.
Did you ever do it?
Yeah, I actually did it once in competitive TF2 as well.
Oh my god.
Where just like in the middle of like the official, like I see someone being juggled in the air, I just pull out the Claymore and kill them. And everyone on my team's like, "Wait, why do you have the Claymore?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it."
That is a power play. That's the most powerful thing you could do, probably.
Actually, the thing I'm most proud of in my competitive TF2 career is when I got an Islander kill in an official without using a shield.
Really? You ran Islander with Scottish Resistance and what stock?
I think I actually may have been running stock stickies because it was like payload attack, but I was basically running into sight lines with 150 health, and I managed to get a kill.
Oh my god! So then, okay, that brings up a good question. The Scottish Resistance, in your opinion, and typically in most people's opinions, works better on defense than it does on offense, right?
Yep.
Do you typically find yourself switching to stock stickies or quickie bomb launcher on offense, or will you stick with Scottish Resistance every so often?
So I think for that question, it really depends if we're talking about if it's in my competitive time or if I'm just pubbing. If it's pubbing, screw it. We're running attack SR.
Oh yeah.
We're throwing caution to the wind. We're just gonna run attack SR. But if it was like competitive TF2 and there was a more important incentive of like trying to actually get stuff done, that's when I'm like, okay, time to run stock stickies again. Fun's over.
You can't have fun. You need to play the meta.
Actually, there was a time early on in Highlander where I was running attack SR, but it was like an open division, and it also reached a point where going against like top teams in open division, it stopped working. So I'm like, okay, fun's over. Back to stock stickies, everyone.
I did not know that you played competitive. I guess I should have from your videos. I remember them being in competitive.
I'm kind of on hiatus right now. I'm not sure if I'm officially done yet or not. It's kind of gotten repetitive for me because like the formats have stayed the same pretty much for like the past 3 years I've been doing this. I think I'm done-ish.
With competitive, you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I might maybe after some time come back. It also depends if like my teammates are also interested in coming back because we all kind of collectively decided to take a break at the same time.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I've never been able to find myself getting into competitive, partially because I don't think I'm good enough for it, and also partially because it's like I just like fucking around in this game. I tend to not take it too serious.
I think one of the reasons why I got into competitive TF2 was maybe on one hand I felt like pubs were getting a little too easy for me, and I kind of wanted to test the limits of the SR to see if how much I can get away with in like a competitive environment. Also maybe because I know maybe like for me personally, like growing up, I used to play like hockey competitively, so I had like a bit of like a competitive drive to like try things in a competitive environment, so that also kind of hooked me a bit.
Okay.
So that kind of may have had an impact on me, but it was primarily just I want to test the limits of the SR now and see how much I can get away with in like RGL.
Okay. With the SR specifically, so I have watched a bunch of your videos, and I'm gonna assume that the audience hasn't. What are some key strategies that you find yourself using specifically on defense that you think more people should know about. I remember one of them being as simple as just like popping 3 stickies by a sentry, and then all of a sudden you're now like protecting the engineer
The
from
discount Pride
spies.
Bro.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you have any other quick tips like that you'd want to
Oh,
tell
SR
any?
Quick Tips live, or I
Yes,
guess
please.
kind of live.
Post
All
produced, but
right.
yeah, pretty much live on the spot.
See, this is kind of one of the struggles I have with SR Quick Tips is that a lot of what I do, I've reached the point where it's become second nature, so I don't think about it that much. So it takes me time to like, I have to really think about it and kind of rewatch what I do and rewatch my old clips to notice my tendencies.
Okay.
One thing maybe you could do something I like to do on I already did a video on this, but I guess maybe I'll just say this again since I think it's a really important thing to emphasize is try and find objects in the map that like you can put sticky bombs in to hide them, cuz while your average pubber may have really bad awareness, no offense to the average pubber, but
You're right. I
in
don't.
the past 10 years, I've seen people just ignore things that make me question what's going on. But yeah, I'd say like making use of like the environment around you and like trying to hide sticks on like objects, but also on the walls, sides of doors. I guess maybe
Ceilings.
something I would also say is, this is a mistake I've noticed I make some from time to time is I put too much emphasis on trapping the payload when we already have like 2 sentries watching it. So it's kind of redundant to a certain extent. If the sentries are well placed enough, you're kind of wasting your sticks on something that's already being like the sentry gun's gonna kill the person before you probably could react.
Right.
So I'd say if you notice that like a lot of people are really guarding the payload, either you can prioritize guarding the people guarding the payload or guard other things that based on how the situation is developing, maybe you notice the enemy team likes to flank a certain way, so maybe you should be prioritizing that area a bit more. It's a mistake I make as well from time to time when I'm kind of just zoned out a bit when I'm playing and where I'll just put sticks on the payload pointlessly, even though realistically I think everyone's already got it covered, so what am I doing? Not really much.
Right.
So maybe that could be something that I guess you could consider, people watching could consider.
Well, that's a really good point. I guess I've never even thought about the redundancy of I've as a scout, I've definitely ran up to our cart and been like, we need to protect this. It can't move forward, so I'm gonna watch it. But then there's like 3 other guys right there, so I'm like, you know what? I'll go away. But I don't think I've ever done that with the Scottish Resistance because I'm like, I'll just pop 4 stickies down, and I'm done. I don't need to look at it again until it's getting pushed. So no, that's a really, really good point. Is that it's just not worth the stickies or the attention because you're also gonna waste that portion of like your brain energy focusing on when is that cart gonna get pushed.
I guess to kind of like I don't know what's the term, nuance to that point though, is that even if you have like a sentry gun guarding the payload, maybe sometimes I try and pay attention to what exactly the sentry can see on the payload, because I know sometimes on upward last, if the sentry gun's in that usual spot on the
Top left
balcony thing, there's an angle where a scout could like crouch on the other side of the payload and keep pushing and the sentry gun won't detect.
No,
so
talk.
I will still sometimes trap the payload, but only on that side because I know the sentry gun will cover the other.
Please don't tell them about that spot. That's the only good spot for me.
Oh, whoops. If you want, you can censor that out in post. Censored out anything I said there.
You're right, though. You're right. Like, that, coming from a slimy scout aficionado, we do that all the friggin' time. Sentries will never be able to shoot through a payload, so we'll just use it as cover. And so, that one Scottish Resistance demo, you guys better start covering it because that's just a free kill waiting. That's a really good point. The when it comes to What was the first tip? Oh, the hiding stickies in spots. Do you
Yep.
have, when it comes to say bad water, what spots do you immediately go to, like put stickies in? Or do you have like a go-to, like this rock right here is transparent and perfect because people walk over it all the time? Or
For
where do you like to
bad
hide them?
water, I don't actually really utilize. Upward is the one that I know there are a lot of rocks that
Say upward. I think upward's more popular anyways.
there is somewhere on Badwater. I've used it a few times, but it's I don't really use it a lot because it's kind of a mess to set up every time, especially when the round is like ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Where at the start of the round near the attacker spawn, on the if you're on the attacking team, it would be to your left. The pathway up to where the sentry, it's on the left. There's that lamp. I will sometimes hide stickies inside that lamp, but setting that up can be a pain when the round's already started and like they're pushing the payload and have to go out there to relay that trap while the enemy team's probably shooting at you. So I rarely do it, but I know about that spot on Badwater first.
Wow. Yeah. I haven't even thought about using lamps. Are you kidding me? How do you come up with that kind of thing? Do you just look at a map with different eyes than I do?
Actually, that was something I learned through playing competitive TF2 a long time ago. I've learned from various people of like the different spots you can hide stuff in, and I've kept the notes of them. I remember the Badwater one was definitely when I was like in a competitive TF2 pug, and prior to the start, people were talking about like there's this spot on the lamp you can trap, and I kept note of that for the future. So yeah, actually like playing and watching competitive TF2 kind of gave me ideas. Even if they're using like stock stickies, like I can use this still with the SR, and I'll also have the benefit of other sticky traps along the way,
That's
along with that one. So yeah.
So now, what about with upward? You said that there are a lot more spots on upward with like nooks and crannies, I would think.
Yeah, there's one I do a lot on first point. It's near the attacker spawn. There's like a rock sticking out on the. If you're on the defending team, it's on your left side. I will usually like hide some sticks in there, and it's actually not close enough to the payload that it will kill someone on the payload, but rather a lot of people may like just when they're setting up to push may stand around that rock, and if they're not paying attention, I can like get even sometimes like a medic or anyone. Actually for upward, the big one to remember is the control points itself you can hide your sticks inside of. So if you're about to retreat an area, throw whatever sticks you have left onto the control point, because they will kind of clip into it, so they're harder to spot. And if a bunch of people are just like standing on the payload because they pub pushed it and they're all panicking that they got a cap with because it's in overtime, then you have the potential of like picking off like a lot of people. I'll leave it at that.
In the capture point, you definitely talked about that in a video once, didn't you? That sounds familiar.
I believe so, yeah.
That definitely sounds familiar. But that's sick.
It's Upward, Enclosure, and Snowy Coast are the three maps where that's possible. And I don't know why it's those three maps, but talk to the TF2 developers, not me.
Chalk it up to source spaghetti at that point. I have no idea. When it comes to the Scottish Resistance, you've got those two quick tips, and I think that those are important because people typically don't use the Scottish Resistance. They're using sticky bombs. They're using quickie bomb launcher. Now, that isn't to say, like we talked about before, you use sometimes on offense, if you're playing serious, you'll switch to stock. Or do you ever use quickie bomb launcher?
Not in a long time, honestly.
Yeah. I find it to just be clunky.
I want to do a video where I just use the quickie bomb launcher for fun.
Oh yeah.
Like that could be an interesting idea for a future video. I just run the Quickie Bomb launcher.
I think that that would be interesting to watch. I'd watch it.
Well,
I'd be
do
very
it for April
curious.
1st.
That's that's such a good idea. The difference between the two is just massive. It's like all of a sudden you are the sticky spamming capable guy, as opposed to the SR, which can still spam, but it's just not as good.
It definitely requires more effort to get similar output.
So the next set of questions are going a little bit more into less so the Scottish Resistance and more so into TF2 as a whole, because a lot of stuff has been going on with
Oh boy, spicy
TF2
TF2
changing.
takes with me. Okay.
Yes, exactly. You'll hear it here first, at the very most. So from when you started, how has TF2 changed from all the way back then in your eyes?
That's actually a good question because I have been playing for 10 years and I had like a concept video idea that I keep telling myself I really got to start recording it, but then I get distracted by something else where I want to kind of go over things that have changed in the past 10 years all throughout my SR adventures and like how despite all this change, this stayed the same. One big thing I think is that balance, honestly, I think has gotten better throughout the years. I know the last major balance thing was like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
but like 2012 TF2 compared to like 2017, I remember when the soda popper would give you a mini crits as long as you weren't AFK. So
What? As long as you weren't
Yeah.
AFK?
basically, the soda popper had like a meter where as long as you're like moving around and jumping, it fills up, and once it's 100%, it automatically activates mini crits.
Oh
I
my
remember that being a
God.
thing.
How long ago was that? Was that before Jungle Inferno?
That was like maybe 2012, at least 2012, because I remember that was a thing at one point.
Okay. I'm trying to remember that sounds so familiar and like tangible, but I definitely have not been playing for that
Actually, I
long.
could be wrong too, but I want to say I remember because I was used to play on community servers, and people would always complain the soda pop for the weapon, where as long as you're not AFK, you will kill everyone.
Wow. Okay, I'll look up that time because I'm curious. When 2011. Yeah, no. Yeah. June 27th, 2011, that patch came out that it no longer did the crits.
Wait, so that was before me. I definitely remember a mini crit soda popper, and I do know about. I want to say though I was playing around the time that was a thing.
Okay.
'cause
Sorry. It was December 20th, 2013. Changed attributes. Hype no longer grants mini crits. Added hype mode. 5 extra air jumps. Okay. Yeah. So 2013 is when that changed.
Okay, yeah. So there was a window of time where I was because I remember I was using like the soda popper and like I was just like jumping in spawn, charging it up, and then running out.
That's so long ago. That's almost 10 years. That's nutty. So that stuff like that changed. And Demoman, I'm trying to rack my brain. Demoman changed quite a bit, but the Scottish Resistance didn't. That didn't really
I think
change,
the
right?
one change it had, I wasn't even playing TF2 at the time, where like the arm time went from like 0.6 to 0.8, and then they added the 25% faster firing speed. That was like the only, I think, significant change the SR ever got. I wasn't even playing in that time.
Okay. So you were talking about balance earlier, and right now you feel the game is at a good balance relative to how it was before.
Yeah, I think it. As much as people I think have complained about the state of TF2 balance, I think it's overall better than what it was in 2012.
Okay. Who is the most overpowered class? Which class is the most busted?
Most busted class.
Which one is the least balanced towards being good?
Maybe Spy. For least balance, I'd say Spy because of the famous song "Anything Spy Can Do, Sniper Can Do Better."
Yep, a classic.
I don't want to say Heavy's weak, but Heavy just. I know fun's subjective, but it's for me. It's just like very bland.
I am right there with you. I
really wanted Heavy to win against. I know Pyro was like bugged at the time with like the flame particles, but I voted for. I was on Team Heavy for that Heavy versus Pyro thing in 2016 because Heavy just felt so bland. If they're gonna introduce something like completely like never before seen for Heavy, I was down for it.
Speaking of, say the heavy update comes out.
Oh my god.
What? Yeah, I know. Finally, what do you give Heavy? You get to pick like a weapon. Say okay, you get to give Heavy a primary, a secondary, and a melee. What do you give Heavy?
Oh, that's
It's in
okay.
depth.
I used to think about this. I used to care a lot more about TF2 balance than I do now. So I used to think about this a lot. So I guess this is a good opportunity for me to bring back old memories of things, old ideas. I think for the primary, I had a really big emphasis on something that isn't a minigun, something that forces Heavy on, like to promote a shotgun heavy playstyle. Similar to how like the Demo Knight playstyle was kind of incentivized through like the Wii booties or the bootlegger, like something that gets rid of the grenade launcher, something that gets rid of the minigun for Heavy, that kind of introduces a whole new, like really builds on the shotgun heavy subclass would be my pick for the primary. In terms of something specific, I can't give you anything. I just give vague ideas.
Yeah, a new subclass.
Secondary is there's two. You can go like lunchbox item or another shotgun. There's like two directions you could go with that. Maybe okay. Going back to the primary, maybe like a primary that enables also the usage of your lunchbox items. So in some way where you introduce like a support heavy role, where you make friendly heavy an actual make friendly heavies like useful for healing or something. I don't know.
It's a friendly heavy primary. That would be fascinating. What? Oh man, you could do a lot of things. Okay, and then for a melee weapon?
For melee, maybe something that just enables like the boxing heavy play style, or well, but that's something you could achieve also with getting rid of the minigun for your primary.
True.
Let's see here. He has a lot of boxing gloves already. He's got the brass knuckles. Maybe something where he has to like, it's like a melee, like he actually has to hold it like the sign or the pan, like that kind of melee weapon, not like a pair of gloves, just to change it up a little.
Interesting. Okay, along with this heavy update, you get to make 3 other changes to the game about anything. You can change anything. 3 other things. What do you change?
Alright, well, I already failed the don't bring up a SR balance change challenge. So we're going to start with that. I'm just going to say right off the bat, we're introducing a 25% faster reload speed on the Scottish Resistance.
Oh my god. Wow.
That's my first executive order. I'm just gonna throw that right there. It's like, of all the ideas I've had throughout the years when thinking about SR changes, that's probably like the one I'm most okay with. So we're gonna go with that.
Okay.
Okay, outside of that,
It could be anything. It could be balance, could be the game itself. You could make its tutorial work. You could do anything.
oh, so we're not limited to game balance.
Nope. You could erase
I feel
every
like
single
saying
block.
making like the in-game like Valve competitive more playable, that's too broad. Or is that too broad? Just
No,
saying,
that makes sense to me.
Okay,
it
then
is
I'll do that as my
impossible
number
to get into.
2. And making like the in-game Valve competitive easier and more bearable for people.
I agree with that one 100%. Yeah. Then one more change.
Okay, one more. I'll go back to like balance, gameplay balance. And I don't know if this is how controversial this one is, but it's an idea I had for a while after I played No Restriction 6s of removing the ability for friendly medics to overheal one another. Basically to nerf like medic stacking was based on some of the experiences I had when I was playing no restriction sixes. So
Would there just be two medics running around constantly overhealed, surviving headshots left and right? I'd guess.
yeah, it increased the survivability of the two medics, and then they were also like, it would have to either be you can stop them from overhealing, or they can't pass, like they can't build Uber off one another.
Mm.
That's probably something I'd go with.
Interesting. Those are good. Those are changes that I don't think anyone else would really have, except maybe the competitive one. That one makes a little bit of sense. But I've never even considered nerfing medics overhealing each other. It makes sense though, because that is like one of the worst things to have to deal with, huh?
I don't know if in practice that any of this is a good idea. I'm just like theory crafting all of this. I'm more in favor of the idea of like, let's just try stuff. Like let's just try something wacky and see what happens at this point. We have nothing to lose.
Absolutely. Valve should just do it already. They should just start throwing caution to the wind. Which kind of sort of leads into our next question. What do you think of the way Valve is treating TF2 to this day?
It's pretty disappointing that I mean, I guess, you know, it's how old is this game now? Almost 15 years.
Just about, yeah.
So, and it's no longer the big new thing. I understand, but like the stuff like the bots and just generally that I feel like TF2 has a lot of potential of being something really special, but the fact that we don't really have any like real developer support right now really kind of limits that potential and if it will ever be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just unfortunate all around is like the one word I would say, just unfortunate.
I would agree. You kept up with kind of the hashtag Save TF2 movement that happened recently, right?
Yeah, I definitely I remember that movement. And I didn't think it would, like, I was hopeful it would lead to something, but at the same time, I didn't like hype myself up to set myself up for like disappointment if nothing happened.
Yeah, which Valve fans are pretty used to at this point.
So I was like surprised, but you know, it was a good surprise that they actually responded.
Do you think that response ended up leaving us some lasting changes to TF2? Have you noticed a difference?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really play casual mode. I play on Uncletopia servers, so the bot crisis didn't really affect me specifically, but I knew it affected a lot of people who wanted to play casual mode. And
yeah.
And I think their complaint, like the issues people had, were totally valid, and that Valve or the TF2 team definitely needed to address that, even if it wasn't going to affect me. So it's hard for me to say if it made a difference because I haven't really played casual mode in months.
So you're coming out as a dirty Uncletopia stan, huh?
Yeah.
This is where it comes out?
Yeah, I'm going to get canceled for this.
Yeah, well, no, you're just a tryhard is all.
Oh,
right? That's what people say about Uncletopia players. I personally have played on Uncletopia, but I am just not good enough yet. Even though I've been playing this game for a lot of hours.
Yeah, there are definitely good players on there. I mean, it's a good challenge to always stay on top of things with my SR stuff, I guess.
So you, as a Demoman, go into the Uncletopia servers, which are just frothing with NGs, and bully them?
No, there are not that many NGs, but yeah, I guess I've top scored, you know, once or twice. At least 10 times, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually really good to know. I didn't realize that you played on Uncletopia. I should start joining those and looking for your person now.
There's like a 90% chance I'm aliasing under some Bionicle reference so that no one will know it's me.
That's right.
You'll help me figure out who I am, though, if I'm just running the SR. So I guess it's time to play Sniper again. To really alias. This
isn't related to the questions that I have so far, but I'd be super interested to be able to get into a match and just like pocket use medic or something and watch you do your thing.
In before, that's like the one time I do horribly.
Well, of course, but then it's funny, so it's okay.
Oh boy, you're gonna crits me with the SR. All right, everyone, hold your breath.
You'll be playing MVM, but in Uncle Topia. It's gonna be sick.
I just say screw it. I'm just gonna try and sticky spam with these crits. What can I get done?
That's when you whip out the Claymore and wreak havoc. With so the Valve cheating TF2, yep. The next section, only a couple questions. What has your TF2 YouTube journey been like?
I don't really.
You're 10 years in now, and that's crazy. And obviously, you haven't been on YouTube for 10 years.
I think I really only started uploading in like 2016.
Okay.
So
have you noticed 6 years? Yeah. Have you noticed any big, like what big milestones have you hit? What has it been like being a TF2 YouTuber that's relatively still pretty small time compared to the other ones that are around?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really think that much about the milestones and stuff. I guess I have over 500 subscribers, which means something. I guess I just don't really think about it too much. There was a time where I kind of did a bit, but it kind of then added pressure of like I've always gotta be uploading and stuff, and then that caused me to like burn out in all of 2019 and only upload one video.
Yeah.
So I've kind of just taken a more like, I guess, laid back approach. It is cool though, that see like people are gaining interest in the Scottish Resistance through my content, which
Oh my gosh, yeah.
which makes me realize that I am making some sort of difference in through it all.
Without a doubt.
I do really appreciate that people are watching like my content and giving me the time of day to watch me as I go for the same sticky trap play hiding in the upward spawn.
Dude, I mean, like I said, I've been watching your channel for a good long while now, and these videos are the things that made me want to use the Scottish Resistance, and I am positive that I am not the only one. It's super, super cool to have a channel like this that exists, and I'm glad that. So you're at over 600 subscribers now. It's super cool that you're able to have the channel, have all this great content on, and yet not feel that pressure that so many people need to feel, like I need to upload once a week or else everything's down the drain, that kind of thing. And so that's a really, really cool niche that you've got, that you're sitting in.
Just living the simple life of a local SR main, uploading the content, going into the Uncle Topia servers. Yeah.
Being engineers.
Actually, they bully me sometimes when they just run like 3 short circuit engines on the payload and I can't do anything. And I'm just looking at my team. All right, hit scan players. This is your job now.
So then, I guess you kind of answered this question already, but do you have any future plans for your channel in the future? Or are you just gonna keep? Sounds like you're gonna keep going with the flow. It's working out well for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me right now is I kind of just see my channel more as like a hobby thing I do. I'm not, if it becomes something big or not, that's kind of not, I'm not super worried about that. That, like I said earlier, with like the YouTube stuff, like that's out of my control. So I'd much rather just focus on making stuff that I can look back on in 2 years and say that was good, compared to some of my content that I look back on that I made like in 2 years ago, and I'm like, there's a lot of things I would have done differently, especially like some stuff I made in 2018 where I'm like, ooh, I wish I had a time machine where I can change some editing mistakes I've made.
The classic. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. With that, I think that gives everybody who's watching a really, really good deep dive into who you are as a player. I think that it's, like I said before, you've got such a nice niche, and you are the best Scottish Resistance YouTuber that I've seen. And
I'm not worried too much if I'm like the best at the SR or not. At the end of the day, I'm just happy that I'm doing the best I can. I don't think too much of like if I'm like the king or like the overlord or something.
That's even better. Honest, that sounds good. That's a really, really cool spot to have. With that, I mean, that's the end. That's the end of my questions. Trying to think of anything else off the top of my head. I don't really. You spoke about in our DMs that there was a channel that you wanted to talk about. Was that
Oh, that was Manta Firefly actually.
that
When
was
I
meant to
mentioned.
Firefly?
Yeah.
And so people should check them out, even though it sounds
Yeah.
like they're
Hey, I think they deserve. I think they deserve more credit than me because they helped me. So, I have. If it weren't for them, I don't know. Or maybe I could have still ended up where I am now. But it's hard to say because alternate realities and whatnot. But
right. Wow.
yeah, they definitely had a huge influence on how I got to this point.
Okay, I'll definitely leave a link to their channel in this video because I'm looking through some of their videos and honestly, these look pretty good. It looks like they also play, what is this? A fighting game. Doesn't look like Guilty Gear. It might not be. I don't know. Well, yeah. With that, I mean, that's all the questions that I had for you, Dreysidel. Do you have any socials you'd like to plug, or any last words that you might have popping into your mind?
Okay, in terms of socials, shout out to my YouTube channel, and by YouTube channel, I'm not talking about the Dreysidel YouTube channel. I'm talking about
Oh.
Draybert, the second YouTube channel that's under development.
Draybert, B-I-R-T?
I think it's linked on my YouTube channel. It's not TF2 related, but it's something long. If you're when you're asking me about long-term TF2 plans, most of them are committed to that channel. Rather, I kind of have what I want for the Scottish Resistance stuff.
Okay.
I'm slowly trying to piece together a second like Lego related channel.
That's right.
So I guess shout out to that channel where it has like 3 videos.
The dinosaurs of Bada Manga?
Boda Magna. That was for a contest I recently entered my entry for that.
Oh, that's sick as hell. I'm not super into Bionicle or Lego. I used to be, but
Bionicle's had a far stronger influence on my life than the Scottish Resistance
did.
So
well, yeah. I hope that this becomes a much bigger. I mean, it's
I have the same mindset to it as my TF2 one, so we'll just see what happens. I'm more just in the process of like trying to piece together what kind of content am I exactly doing here.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and then slowly work my way to something.
We'll plug
Most
that
of
one.
my Bionicle stuff is committed to my Twitter account right now, anyways.
Okay, is that under Draybert as well?
No, that's the one. That's the one I use just for everything, but mostly Bionicle stuff. I rarely use my Twitter account for TF2 related stuff. It seems.
Okay, yeah, I'll plug both of those. I'll have those down in the description below.
Just plug anything that's not SR related there.
Okay, that sounds good. That's easy to do. Any last parting words to your new fans?
I guess one last thing I could say overall is to anyone who's like on their like Scottish Resistance adventures, whether you started yesterday, you're gonna start 30 minutes after watching this, or if you've been doing this for like 12 years or whatever, keep at it. One of these days, the revolution will come and we will overtake all the stock sticky bomb launcher Demoman. Maybe it won't, but hey, let's all have some fun out there. Go out there, do great things, trap the health packs. Yeah, just do your best. Always try and improve, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, that's going to be the end of this most recent episode of A Night With. Look out for this series to keep going, because I know that this isn't a super, like, there aren't a lot of TF2 YouTubers that do stuff like this. But I think that it's really interesting getting to dive deep into these smaller sects of the TF2 community and getting to see people that have so many skills and are super talented at the game who you just may not have seen before. So with that, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure that you subscribe and like the video, all that junk, so that you can see when these come out. Join my Discord. I message everybody about when these are happening. If you have any recommendations for people that you want to see on this show, people you want to learn more about, comment them down below or shoot them to me in Discord. I'm super interested to get to talk to all of these people, and it's been great having Dreysidel on. So thank you very much for coming on.
And yeah, thank you for having me on, by the way.
Absolutely, it is all my pleasure, and I'm more than happy to have you on in the future too. When we get that Australian Scottish Resistance, and that changes the game.
Oh boy.
Right.
Gotta spend more money on this game.
Yes, spend, consume product. With that, thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you have a good night.